In this episode, we're going to take a practical look at how different project and delivery methods shape security outcomes, because the way work is organized often determines whether security is included smoothly or bolted on painfully. Many new learners assume security is mostly about specific controls, like access rules or monitoring. But the truth is that controls only work well when they are placed into a delivery rhythm that supports them. Agile, Waterfall, Lean, and hybrid approaches each create different patterns for planning, building, testing, releasing, and learning. Those patterns influence what gets documented, when decisions are made, how changes are approved, and how quickly problems are discovered and corrected. If you understand these methods, you can predict where security will struggle and where it can be embedded naturally. That understanding is how you choose a method that fits the project while keeping security strong and realistic. Before we continue, a quick note. This audio course is a companion to our course companion books. The first book is about the exam and provides detailed information on how to pass it best. The second book is a Kindle-only ebook that contains 1,000 flashcards that can be used on your mobile device or Kindle. Check them both out at Cyber.Author.me in the Bare Metal Study Guide series. Before comparing methods, it helps to ground what security fit actually means, because security is not one single activity that you schedule once. Security fit means the method creates reliable moments to identify risk, make security decisions, verify that controls work, and respond to change without panic. It also means the method matches the type of work being done, because a method that is perfect for stable requirements can fail badly when requirements are uncertain, and vice versa. Security fit includes the human side as well, such as whether teams understand their responsibilities, whether handoffs are clear, and whether accountability is visible. If security work depends on heroic effort or last-minute reminders, the fit is poor even if the method sounds sophisticated. When security work is expected, repeatable, and naturally part of delivery, the fit is strong. The goal is not to pick a trendy method, but to create a predictable system where security outcomes are consistently achieved. A useful way to organize your thinking is to imagine the System Development Lifecycle, SDLC, as the broad set of stages that most work passes through, even when organizations use different words for them. You usually see some form of planning, design, build, test, release, and operate, even if those steps overlap or repeat. Security needs to appear in each of those stages in a way that matches how the method moves through them. If a method has long planning and late testing, security risks may sit unseen for months. If a method delivers quickly without strong feedback loops, security issues may ship repeatedly and accumulate into a larger problem. Security fit, then, is about aligning security work with the method's cadence and decision points. Once you see that every method still touches the same lifecycle ideas, you can choose where to place security so it is neither ignored nor overly disruptive. Waterfall is easiest to understand for beginners because it is usually described as a sequence of phases, where one phase largely finishes before the next begins. In Waterfall, requirements are gathered and documented early, design is planned in detail, implementation follows the plan, and testing often happens later, closer to the end. The advantage of this approach is predictability, especially when requirements are stable and the organization needs clear documentation and approvals. The security risk is that early mistakes can be expensive, because if security requirements are missing or misunderstood during planning and design, the project can carry those risks forward for a long time. Another risk is that late-stage testing may discover security problems when timelines are tight, leading to rushed fixes or pressure to accept risk without proper evaluation. Waterfall can fit security well when security is included early and rigorously, but it can fit poorly when security is treated as a final checkpoint. When security fits well in Waterfall, it usually happens because security is integrated into requirements and design artifacts rather than added as a late review. That means security expectations are defined early, such as what data must be protected, what access controls are required, what logging must exist, and what risks must be addressed before release. It also means security participates in design decisions, because design choices often determine the strength of boundaries, the ability to monitor, and the ease of patching later. In this environment, security reviews can be structured and thorough, and testing can be planned with clear criteria for acceptance. The method supports traceability, meaning you can connect a security requirement to a design decision and to a test outcome. For beginners, the key lesson is that Waterfall rewards early thinking and punishes late discovery. So security fit depends on doing the most important security reasoning at the beginning rather than hoping to fix everything at the end. Agile methods are often described as iterative, meaning work is delivered in smaller pieces and feedback is used to adjust direction repeatedly. In Agile environments, teams may plan in short cycles, deliver incremental improvements frequently, and refine requirements as they learn. The advantage for security is that feedback loops can be faster, so issues can be found earlier and corrected without waiting for a long end phase. The challenge is that Agile can drift into speed without discipline if teams treat security as optional or if security expectations are unclear. Another challenge is that Agile teams may produce less formal documentation, which can create confusion about security decisions and responsibilities if the organization depends on written records. Agile can fit security extremely well when security is embedded into the team's definition of done and review habits. It fits poorly when security is seen as a separate department that slows the cycle. Security fit in Agile often depends on building lightweight but consistent security checkpoints into the iteration rhythm. That can include early discussion of security impact when work is being selected, clear security acceptance criteria for tasks that touch sensitive data or critical systems, and routine verification during testing rather than one large security event. The goal is not to add heavy gates that break the iterative flow, but to ensure that security is part of normal quality. A helpful mindset is that each small delivery should not only add value, but also preserve or improve security posture. If a team ships quickly but gradually increases exposure through shortcuts, the method may appear successful while risk quietly rises. Agile security fit also improves when teams treat security issues as backlog items that are prioritized based on risk, not as distractions to be handled only when there is spare time. This keeps security visible and prevents drift. Lean is sometimes misunderstood as simply doing less, but in practice it is about reducing waste, improving flow, and focusing effort on what creates real value. In a security context, lean thinking can be powerful because it encourages the organization to remove friction that causes insecure workarounds. For example, if a security review process is slow and unpredictable, teams may bypass it, creating hidden risk, and lean thinking would target that bottleneck. Lean also emphasizes learning from outcomes and improving the process continuously, which aligns well with the idea that security posture must be maintained over time. The risk with lean is that if people define value too narrowly, they may treat security as non-value work, which can lead to underinvestment. The healthiest lean approach recognizes that preventing incidents and avoiding disruptive failures is real value, even if it is invisible when things go well. Lean fits security best when it reduces waste while protecting essential safeguards. To apply lean with security fit, you focus on the flow of security-relevant work and ask where delays and rework are coming from. If vulnerabilities remain open because ownership is unclear, that is waste, and lean thinking would push toward clearer responsibility and smoother remediation flow. If incident response is slow because information is scattered and escalation paths are vague, that is waste, and lean thinking would simplify communication and decision paths. Lean security fit also involves reducing the cost of doing the right thing, such as making secure defaults easier, making approvals clearer, and reducing repetitive manual steps that lead to mistakes. A beginner-friendly way to see this is to compare planned effort versus unplanned chaos. Lean security aims to trade a smaller amount of steady, predictable effort for a larger reduction in emergency work caused by preventable failures. When you see security as a way to prevent wasteful disruption, lean and security become natural partners. Hybrid approaches combine elements of Agile, Waterfall, and sometimes lean, usually because different parts of the organization or different parts of a project have different needs. For example, an organization might use Waterfall-like planning and approvals for a high-stakes system change, while using Agile iterations for customer-facing features. Hybrid can fit security well because it allows rigor where stability is needed and flexibility where learning is needed. The main risk is inconsistency, where different teams interpret the hybrid approach differently, creating gaps where security responsibilities are unclear. Another risk is that hybrid can accidentally inherit the weaknesses of each method, such as long delays from heavy approvals combined with rapid changes that bypass review. Hybrid security fit depends on being explicit about which parts of the work follow which rhythm and where security decision points lie. Without clarity, hybrid becomes a confusing mix that slows delivery and still leaves exposure. Choosing a method with security fit starts with understanding the nature of the work, because not all projects are equally predictable. If requirements are stable, the technology is well understood, and changes are risky to deploy, a more structured approach can support careful analysis and controlled execution. If requirements are evolving, the product needs rapid feedback, and value is delivered in increments, an iterative approach can support learning while still maintaining security through consistent checks. If the organization suffers from chronic delays and rework, lean thinking can help reduce friction and make secure behavior easier. Hybrid becomes useful when parts of the work have different characteristics, such as a stable core platform with fast-changing features around it. Beginners sometimes look for a single best method, but security fit is about selecting what matches the work and then shaping it so security outcomes are predictable. A method is only as good as the way it is applied and governed. Another important factor is how each method handles change, because change is where security often fails. Waterfall tends to treat change as expensive and disruptive, so security fit requires strong early analysis and careful control of late changes. Agile expects change, so security fit requires strong habits that keep security requirements from being forgotten as priorities shift. Lean treats change as part of improving flow, so security fit requires making sure improvements do not remove essential safeguards in the name of speed. Hybrid must define how change requests move between structured and iterative parts of the system so security decisions remain consistent. In all cases, the key is having a repeatable way to evaluate security impact when something changes, especially when change affects sensitive data, access boundaries, or monitoring coverage. If change is unmanaged, security posture drifts, and drift is one of the most common causes of surprise incidents. Security fit also depends on where accountability sits, because a method cannot fix unclear ownership by itself. In Waterfall, accountability can be clear in documents but still fail if execution ownership is fragmented across teams. In Agile, accountability can be strong within a team but weak across dependencies if shared responsibilities are vague. In Lean, accountability can drift if everyone focuses on flow but no one owns risk decisions. In Hybrid, accountability can become messy if different groups believe the other group is responsible for security checks. A security leader protects fit by making responsibilities explicit, aligning authority with responsibility, and ensuring there are clear escalation paths when risk cannot be resolved at the working level. Accountability is what turns a method into real outcomes, because it ensures security decisions are made, recorded when needed, and acted on. Without accountability, even well-designed methods become theater. Another aspect beginners often overlook is evidence, meaning how the organization proves security expectations were met. Waterfall often produces formal evidence through documentation and phase approvals, which can support audits and leadership assurance if it is accurate. Agile can produce evidence through consistent definitions of done, test artifacts, and regular reviews, but it can struggle if evidence is scattered or inconsistent. Lean emphasizes reducing unnecessary documentation, which is healthy, but security still needs enough evidence to confirm controls exist and work, especially for critical assets. Hybrid must decide what evidence is required for different parts of the work. Otherwise, teams will either drown in paperwork or produce too little to support confidence. Security fit is not about generating documents. It is about having reliable proof that security outcomes were achieved and that risk decisions were consciously made. Evidence supports trust, because leaders and teams can verify what happened rather than relying on memory or optimism. When you apply these methods with security fit, you are essentially designing a delivery system that makes secure behavior the normal path. Waterfall fit comes from early security requirements, strong design review, and clear acceptance criteria, so surprises do not appear at the end. Agile fit comes from embedding security into iterative planning, building, and testing so each increment maintains posture. Lean fit comes from removing communication and process waste, so security work flows smoothly and reduces unplanned disruption. Hybrid fit comes from clearly defining where structure is needed and where iteration is needed, and then making sure security decision points exist in both rhythms without confusion. The method does not automatically create security. It creates the conditions in which security work either succeeds or struggles. If you can recognize those conditions and adjust them, you can protect security outcomes while still supporting delivery goals. As you bring this all together, the main lesson is that choosing Agile, Waterfall, Lean, or Hybrid is not a matter of preference or ideology, but a matter of matching the method to the work and then integrating security into the method's real decision points. Security fit means risks are identified early enough to avoid expensive rework, controls are verified in a repeatable way, and changes are evaluated without panic. It also means teams can move quickly when needed without bypassing security, because the secure path is predictable and workable. When you understand how each method shapes planning, feedback, evidence, and accountability, you can predict where security will need extra attention and where it can be naturally embedded. That is how security becomes a steady part of delivery rather than a late-stage disruption that everyone resents. And it is how organizations improve both security posture and execution reliability over time.
Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit BareMetalCyber.com.